Have you ever noticed that your nervous system doesn't just react to what happened? It reacts to the story you tell about what happened. So think about stubbing your toe. If the story is, I'm such a klutz, I can't do anything right, your body floods with shame and tension. Now, if the story is that coffee table is in a terrible spot, I should move it, your body relaxes after the sting of the toe. Same toe, same table, same pain, but two completely different nervous system experiences. That is the power of story. And that is what we're talking about today. This is the Building Resilience Podcast, episode 253, Why Stories Matter. Welcome to Building Resilience, a podcast where theory, practical strategies, and inspiring stories show you how to unlock your best life. I'm your host, Leah Davidson. As a certified life coach, speech-language pathologist, and nervous system resilience expert, it is my mission to teach you how to be more resilient to life's adversities. I will show you how to manage your mind, befriend your nervous system, process your emotions, and even eliminate stress. It's time to do more than just survive. It's time to thrive. Let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. Now, when I was in Italy on the retreat I just hosted, which was amazing, by the way, and I know some of you have reached out to ask me how to get in on these retreats. Well, they are first offered to my immediate community, those who have taken my advanced training or in it now or in my premium membership connections before I invite to a larger, broader community. So if you are interested down the road, because I do plan on doing more, then let's stay connected. Consider joining my community, taking the training, engaging with all the fun stuff that I have coming up. Okay, so back to when I was in Italy, one of the workshops we did was all about the power of story. And so I decided to create this mini series of episodes called Restory Yourself. So today we're going to talk the basics of what stories are, where they come from, how they impact your nervous system. So we're going to talk about the stories you've inherited, the stories you've created, and how those shape your body, your brain, and your entire experience of life. Then next week, we're going to talk about shifting your stories. And then the third episode will be all about releasing and living a new story. And just a reminder, if you are looking for tools for learning more about your nervous system, then I do have my resilience journal that is available for purchase on Amazon. And then my safe space affirmation and journal prompt cards are also available. And I have a few more things coming out, so stay tuned. I'm trying to offer as many access points to learn about your nervous system wherever you're at. And if you want support, then come check out my Nervous System Journaling Club. So there's all sorts of resources there. More will be added, and it's a wonderful community. Okay, let's get started. What exactly do I mean by stories? We all live inside stories. They're kind of like these invisible scripts that we have that shape how we see ourselves and the world. They essentially tell us who we are, what's safe, what's possible, and what's not. Now, as a speech-language pathologist, I've spent years helping people rebuild their stories and communication after brain injury. And I've learned that communication isn't just about words. It's about meaning. It's about the story that the brain and the body are telling underneath the words. Now, our stories live in our nervous system as much as they live in our mind. They shape our tone, our breath, our posture, even how close we stand to somebody. So these stories help us survive, but they also shape how we move through the world. Now, some stories we chose, many we didn't. Maybe you grew up hearing things like, oh, we don't trust outsiders, or money changes people, or good girls don't get angry. Those weren't just words and sentences. They were actually survival codes, and they shaped how your family stayed safe in their world. And now, even if your life looks completely different, your nervous system might be still following those same codes. So these are the inherited stories that we have. And then there are the labels that we absorbed. The small one, maybe you're the responsible one, the black sheep of the family. These are the roles that gave us belonging, but they also came with invisible rules. So if you were the helper, maybe you learned to ignore some of your own needs. If you were the smart one, maybe failure started to look like danger. So So even positive stories could box you in and limit you to who you allowed yourselves to be. And then finally, there were the stories that we built for survival. They were the protective stories. Maybe it sounded like if I don't try, I can't fail. Or if I keep people at a distance, they can't hurt me. Or if I stay busy, I just don't have to feel. And those were all brilliant strategies at one point. Protective stories that your nervous system wrote to keep you alive and loved and safe. But what protects you in that one season of life can actually imprison you in another season. So let's be clear. These stories, none of them are bad. They were just adaptive. They kept you safe when safety was needed. But here's something we need to consider now. Your nervous system doesn't know time. It still reacts to those old stories long after the danger is gone. And that's why awareness matters so much, because once you can see the story, you can begin to rewrite it, or you can begin to allow it to dissolve. So your brain is a storytelling machine. Every second it's collecting data from your senses, it's comparing it to past experiences, and then it weaves it all into a story that will help you make sense of the world. And your body is listening to every single word. So when your inner narrator is saying things like, I'm not safe, your body doesn't wait for proof, it acts. Your heart rate spikes, your muscles tighten, your breath shortens, your system prepares to protect you. Because to your brain and your body, the perception is reality. Now, when the story shifts to something like, I'm supported, I can handle this, well, your body's going to follow. The body's going to shift too. Your shoulders drop, your jaw unclenches, your breath deepens. Your body begins to move from protection to connection, from survival to regulation. Now, here's the part that we also want to understand. Your nervous system reacts to perceived threats the same way it reacts to real threats. It doesn't wait to fact check the story. If your brain imagines danger, and danger can be in the form of rejection and embarrassment and failure and loss, your body responds as if it's happening right now. That's why your heart can race just thinking about an email, or why you feel a pit in your stomach before a difficult conversation. So the stories you tell aren't just mental, they are physiological. They shape how much energy your body burns, how quickly you recover, and how safe or unsafe you feel in your own skin. And that's why story work isn't about just repeating affirmations that you don't believe, because you can't outthink a nervous system that still feels unsafe. You have to retune your story to a story that your body believes. Because your thoughts might say, I'm fine, but your nervous system might still be whispering, it's not safe yet. So the real work is helping those two parts, your mind and your body, start speaking the same language again. And when they do, that's when regulation and healing and true change can happen. So if stories live in the body, how do we even begin to see them, let alone shift them? Well, that's where I like to use some metaphors. Metaphors give both your brain and your body something tangible to work with. It's like a shared image that helps you make what's invisible visible. So it helps translate feelings and patterns into pictures that your nervous system can actually understand. So let me share with you 3 of my favorite ways to look at stories. Firstly, we can look at stories as camera lenses. So think of your story like this camera lens that right now you might be looking through a zoom lens that only focuses on problems. What's wrong, what's missing, what's still unsafe. Or maybe you're seeing through a really blurry lens from the past, one that filters today's experiences through yesterday's pain. And when that's the case, your nervous system reacts to what it sees through the lens, not to what is actually happening. And it prepares for threat, even when the danger isn't even there anymore. So what would you change if you swapped the lens? If you pulled back for a wider view, one that includes both the hard and the hopeful? Now, that doesn't mean ignoring pain. It just means letting the full picture in, because perspective is regulation. When you see more options, your body feels safer. Now, the second metaphor is stories as playlists. So sometimes our stories play like old songs stuck on repeat. So there's like the heartbreak ballad, the never enough anthem, the overthinking remix that we have. And we know the lyrics by heart, and even though they're familiar, they keep our nervous system in the same emotional frequency, one of stress or shame or striving for enoughness. But your inner library is actually massive. You do have songs about peace and courage and joy and curiosity. They're all in there. You just have to hit shuffle. And that doesn't mean forcing positivity. It means giving your body a new opportunity to follow a new rhythm, a new pattern of safety, a different emotional groove that lets your system feel something besides survival. Now, the third metaphor that I love is thinking of our stories as weather. Some stories are like quick storms. They roll in, they pour out, and then they pass. Others are kind of like climates. They've been the atmosphere that you've lived in for so long that you don't even realize that other weather exists. So if you grew up in a hustle or you'll fall behind climate, stillness might feel unsafe. Now, if you lived in a keep the peace climate, then conflict might register as danger. But the good news is that climates can change. You can learn to invite in more sunlight, more calm, more warmth, and not by pretending that the storm didn't happen, but by remembering that it's not the only sky that is available. So that shift right there is what teaches your nervous system that new weather is possible. So whether your story feels like a lens, a playlist, or a weather pattern, awareness is what gives you the option to change it. Because when you can see the story, you can start to choose it instead of just living inside of it. Now, stories are not fixed. They live in your nervous system. They live in your relationships. They live in your breath and your body, but they can evolve. You don't rewrite them by force. You can allow them to be there. You can allow them to dissolve away, and you can rewrite them through awareness, repetition, and safety. So I want to invite you this week to notice the stories that you find yourself repeating, the phrases that are echoing in your mind, the labels that may feel heavy and even outdated. What story feels really loud right now? We're not looking at these stories to try to fix them. I just want to invite you to notice them. Write them down. You can even write them down like a book title or a movie tagline. So maybe your story is going to be the one who never gets it right, or the woman who holds it all together, or the helper who forgot herself. So this kind of noticing might seem small, but it's actually very powerful, because every time you observe a story, instead of being swept away by the story, your brain and your body both learn something new. We're safe enough to see this story. And that's how story work begins, not by rewriting everything at once, but by learning to meet your own narrative with curiosity instead of criticism. And if you want to go a bit deeper with this, the Nervous System Journaling Club is a wonderful place to explore and learn about your stories. Each week, we explore different prompts and creative tools to see what your nervous system is trying to tell you. And then you can share reflections, you can read other people's insights, and realize that you're not the only one navigating these old storylines. Now, next time, we're going to talk about how to shift your story, not through force or through fake positivity, but through your lens, your language, and your nervous system state. Because you can't always control what happens, but you definitely can influence the story that your body tells about it. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Building Resilience podcast. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about managing stress, building resilience, and leading a more purposeful life, then make sure we're connected on Instagram and Facebook at Leah Davidson Life Coaching. You can also subscribe to my weekly newsletter at www.leahdavidsonlifecoaching.com/newsletter. Looking forward to connecting.